All right, thanks for staying with us on supplementary elections, our coverage of the supplementary elections in 18 states of our country. Quickly, let me take you on now, Mr. Wale Ogunade, President, Voter Awareness Initiative. You heard Samson Itodo's take on the level of voter awareness and all that we have had so far. Voter turnout decreased, even though the number of voters increased by 14 million. Voter turnout decreased from 43+ percent to 35.6%. What do you think is responsible for this, Mr. Ogunade?
Well, excuse me. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this discussion this morning. Because before we came on air, me and my colleague here, we are discussing some issues. And as God will have it, that's what you now threw up. The issue of voter education, voter awareness. The issue, particularly what, again, my brother Buka raised in Lagos with you. And that's the issue of the quality of the lawmakers. And that is key. If those who are lawmakers, the quality is not there, then definitely we'll continue to have bad laws and continue to move in circles. And be that as it may, and the issue here is that, as the Bible tells us in Psalm 11:3, if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? And we all will just be suffering because of the quality of people we have there. And issue of voter education is key. I adopt the sentiments of my brother here and Kiari in Lagos. They have said everything that needs to be said. All we need to do is to work on all these issues. The political parties for a long time, ever since we started this political dispensation, have been challenging the political parties that establish political education department, voter awareness department in your various political parties. None of them, not one, has any or has established any. So, and they are the ones who need the votes, not me, not my brother here. They are the one who needs the votes. So if they don't educate their people, they will continue to be victims of these void votes, this inconclusive election and all this wahala that we go through. So it behoves on them, and I know that now we'll put the fire on them. They must do all the needful. We should put an end to all this talk, and action them. If not, we'll continue to move in this circle. Look at it. I've told you several instances, we'll go to when we are observing elections, you see the voters just thumbprinting across the line, and of course it becomes a void vote. It is a political parties, and it's a waste on the system. And of course, my colleagues have discussed on issues of electronic voting. The time has come. We cannot shy away from it. People are not educated. That is the work of the political parties. They must educate their people. You need the vote, then you go for it. There are several things that has to be done that they are not doing. And the most important thing, again, my brothers have discussed this, is that is the issue of civic education. When we are in school, when we are young, I know that in school then, in the primary school, there are what we call civics in school. And that gives us that foundation. But I don't know, we must get all these things back.
All right,
or
Mr.
else
Ogunade.
we'll continue to move in circle. But just as I said earlier on, maybe in a previous broadcast, the time to start the work for 2023 is now. And we have started. Some of us have been meeting, and of course, you can be sure that's why I'm in Abuja too. So definitely, we can't leave this thing to the politicians to drive.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ogunade, for that. But there is a very, very interesting Nigerian who has just joined us in the studio.
As if he's going to vote in the supplementary, I'll be voted for the supplementary elections. Very interesting.
Oh, did you go to Ibeju to see the preparedness of INEC or the voters?
Oh, it is good to be here. Good morning, Nigerians. Well, it's a very interesting mix. I was even going to ask Mr. Ogunade, what is he doing in Abuja? But
well, he has answered the question.
So, well, somehow, he was able to quickly respond to it.
I was taking Chamberlain and Gimba up on something yesterday, Mr. Kiari, and that's that when good men do not go into politics, he'll smile. I see he's smiling. when good men refuse to go into politics.
And Gimba was sitting here at the time. So he did this.
And I was sitting here, so I just did this. You know, so when good men don't go into politics, here Mr. Ogwande also alluded to the fact that the quality of lawmakers that we have is very, very important. How conscious of this, again, I ask, because we are going to have elections in 17 states and the FCT, more than 530 voters are going to be in this. The importance of the legislative elections need to be underscored, even though this is supplementary.
The thing is that supplementary means an extension of the original election. So it's you know, supplementary sounds like it's something that it's an afterthought. It's not. It's still part of the original conversation, and it has to be concluded. And therefore, the voters that came out on those mentioned dates should also come out again and exercise their rights. Now, unfortunately, if any off-cycle elections numbers, I mean, in Anambra, it's probably smaller than my local government in Borno when the gubernatorial elections were held. The turnout was abysmally low. Now, we've talked about the voter apathy, but in supplementary elections, it's even worse. It's like an, orphan child. I mean, so all the supplementary elections, unless, enough sensitization goes around, for example, the gubernatorial elections I think would be keenly contested, because when you see the differential in the votes and the effect, the total cancelled votes, it basically means that people need to go out and vote.
But aren't we going to be guilty of looking at this voter apathy as an abstract? Because, for instance, what role will or should or do we think the judiciary should play in the scheme of things here?
Well, judiciary in this calculation, judiciary comes last. The voter apathy, I believe, is actually some of the things that were just discussed earlier.
But isn't it cause and effect? Because if people think that my vote won't count at the end of the day, what's the point of them coming out? But if they see justice being seen to have been done, if those matters get to the courts, isn't that going to play some sort of role eventually?
You have to exercise your rights first before we even go to the judiciary. In fact, if the voting process were to have done properly, and there were no cancelled votes or the issues of grabbing of ballot boxes and all of those malfeasance were not there, then we may not even need the judiciary.
But it is that now.
The adage is that the best kind of transaction you go into in business is the one where you hire the lawyer first before you start the transaction, rather than you need the lawyer when there is a problem, because at that time the cost would go high. And judiciary should not even be a factor.
But
had
today,
we got that. But yeah, so
today we see that it is in some states.
Which is because of the voter apathy. And the voter apathy is directly correlated to the awareness of the average voter. And that is where whether the responsibility is on INEC and the political parties. In fact, if we even dig deep, since we started this dispensation, 1999 onwards, I don't think there has been concerted effort in educating the voter on their civic responsibility of how to hold their elected representatives accountable. Nobody does that. Not the political party, not the electoral umpire.
Is it in the interest of the political party or the politicians?
It should be, because the political parties themselves, foundationally speaking, have not been an issue-based or ideologically tilted political parties. You remember where was it, Social Democratic Party and the NRC, one slightly to the left, one slightly to the right. Yeah. I don't think we have that today. There is progressive in APC, but is it really a socialistic, left-leaning political organization? The answer probably is not.
Let me bounce this off Mr. Ogwande and Samson. Mr. Ogwande first. I mean, as at yesterday, even we know that in Adamawa, for instance, we won't have the governorship elections yet, because the courts will have to come back on Tuesday and decide what and how it will proceed. So in that context, I'm just wondering, do you think that the judiciary has got any role whatsoever in ensuring or perhaps encouraging or otherwise voters to really come out when looking at the entire process itself?
Unfortunately, that's my problem.
Oh.
Is it only in Nigeria that we get election or we are involved in election? That's my problem. Why must we involve the judiciary at every step? My brother said it. Some people who do not even have a vote, who did not win a local government or even did not take part in the election, they have gone to court to frustrate the effort, the process, to disturb it. Why? Why must we introduce the judiciary at all stages? Some of us have been out of the country. We have monitored elections sometimes, some outside. After the election, that's all. But of course, the foundation again, the most important thing again is the preparation by INEC and the political parties. We will still continue to hammer it. Because if there is no foundation, if there is no preparation, you will see all these problems coming up. And I don't know, there must be serious interaction and synergy between election monitoring, the management body, that is INEC, and the political parties. How they do it in other countries. Is it only in Nigeria that we conduct elections that we must engage the judiciary? And you see that there is sometimes confusion. Yesterday or 2 days ago, people were still looking at, okay, they want to go to Adamawa. Some of us want to send our people to Adamawa. If the elections are not holding now. So, of course, at a great cost, because we have to pay for hotels, we have to pay for various logistics, at the detriment of who? Who pays for that? Will it not stop people? Let them have their supplementary election. We are not going. Let them do whatever they are doing. And, of course, for the voter, too, they are not clear. They will look at it, they are not more interested.
Now, that is the voter
so
angle,
let them do
Mr.
whatever they
Ogwade.
want. The number will drop, as Kerry has said in Lagos.
Mr. Ogwade, it's that voter angle that I wanted to take you up on. We had massive campaigns for elections before the presidential and governorship elections. But so far, I don't remember any publicity by any political party for the supplementary elections. Is that illegal?
Well, that's again that's part of the problems we are saying. But of course, they've been going through their door-to-door to mobilize people. You hear what they say. But even from the question you asked, during the campaign itself, how many of the voters in the rural areas, as we normally say, me and you, we call them our hinterland people, Abi? How many people have they contacted in the rural area? You find that the campaigns are in the urban areas, that's all. The mobilization is for the urban people, that's all. So, since you don't encourage and you don't interact with the grassroots, the hinterland people, they are not educated, they are not aware. On the day of election, you see them going to their various farms, you see them going with their various businesses, and we have experienced it outside Lagos, particularly during supplementary elections. And I hope your people, you tell them to beam around, to give us live pictures
Mr.
on a day like this in those areas.
Mr. Gwade, from the look of things,
that people will be going about their normal businesses.
From the look of things, you may end up holding yourself and now your accountable. If the hinterlanders don't come out for this supplementary election.
We'll make the hinterland very good.
Well, another interesting thing in the mix, Chamberlain, is the fact that Samson talked about the incorporation or deployment of technology. Already we have technology in use, at least with the smart card reader. At least it's smart, that's what makes it technology. Well, but then, to a large extent, we have a lot of noise on social media about the election. But a lot more talk, activity online about these elections.
No polling booths on social media.
Then we have, at the polling units. Samson, what's your take on that? Because INEC has also said that many times they deploy information on social media and all of that, but it doesn't seem to reflect into physical turnout of the voter, at the polling unit. Samson, what's your take on that?
Well,
You know, you've just raised a very controversial issue. The fact that even INEC at some point came to say, we don't count tweets, we don't count likes, we count votes. And so it's important to show up at the polling station to cast your vote. If you look at the fraction of the number, the fraction of Nigerians who are on these social media platforms, if you look at the percentage of Nigerians who are on these platforms compared to the voting population, it's quite small. I don't have that data to say. I don't know what percentage of registered voters are on Twitter. These platforms are very, very important platforms for political socialization, for demanding electoral accountability, as well as promoting voter education. And so they're very, very valuable. But that in itself does not translate into the physical human beings that come out to cast their votes. It's a tool, it's a means to an end, it's actually not an end in itself. And so how we need to just rethink how we use these tools to enlighten Nigerians on the value of casting their votes and then showing up at polling stations.
But Samson, before you go off this one, wait, Samson, one moment, Samson. Yes, I agree. There is a very, they compared to the number of accredited voters or people who have ballot papers, who are able to get ballot papers with their PVCs and all of that. It's small compared to the number of those figures are not pretty much the same. But if you reckon with the quality or the quantity of influence that they can make on those who are not on social media, I think it is something, because to a large extent many people don't read beyond the headlines.
I agree with you, and just to put it in another way, if you look at the electoral behavior of voters in this election, a lot of them have been influenced by conversations that have gone on social media platforms. And so I agree with you to the extent that these platforms can influence political behavior, and they are doing so. And that is why you can see every serious politician or every serious political party has got its own presence on social media. Don't also forget that fake news and misinformation was a tool that was used by politicians in this election, because that also helped them to secure some votes. So I agree with you. We can talk about electoral technology and its deployment and to what extent it can guarantee transparency or credibility of the process. But like I've said in previous conversations, yes, electronic voting, very, very good, very useful. But we must think about incremental deployment of EVS for our elections. Machines will not guarantee the integrity of the process, because machines also fail. And we've seen that in different parts of the world. What is central is what sort of design do you have in place to safeguard the integrity of the process? But I'd like to piggyback on 2 points that Chamberlain made about voter turnout and voter awareness. There are two fundamental issues. One is, this is a function of the structure of the Nigerian state itself. The fact that the federal system that we practice concentrates a lot of power at the center. And so if you think about, ask every average Nigerian who they consider as the most important leader in the country, they look at the president. They don't look at their governor, they don't look at their local government chairman.
Well, all right, Samson, my apologies. I need to just, butt in there, but I'll come back to you to conclude your point. We need to get down to our correspondent, Yemi Kosoko, and speaking about who knows voter apathy. Let's gauge what's going on there. Yemi, talk to us. What's happening?
Yeah, Chamberlain and Ayo. Right now we are at the Plateau Hotel Junction polling unit, in which there are 853 registered voters here in this unit. Right now, the issue is the polling officer is addressing party agents as well as the voters, because this unit votes were cancelled due to one, overvoting, as well as the collation of results, which is supposed to be on a single sheet, but they made it on separate sheets. So the polling agent, officer rather, has been addressing the voters as well as the party agents to let them know that these are the rules and to avoid the situation that occurred that led to the cancellation of the votes. As you can see, we have the presence of security personnel here. We have the police. We have members of the Directorate of the State Services. We also have the Road Safety Corps, as well as the Civil Defense Corps. They are here to provide security. And at this polling unit, materials arrived as early as 6 a.m. And the materials and the polling officers were the ones waiting for voters in this unit. And the voters are just trickling in. And in a short while, the voting exercise will commence in earnest. In other places that we visited this morning, before we came to this place, there are lots of security presence to manage the situation. And of course, just yesterday evening, there was an announcement on the restriction of movement, both for vehicles and persons, in order to avoid any movement of people that might want to go and disrupt election where elections are not taking place. Remember, this thing is taking place in 9 local government areas. And of course, this is just not one of the local government areas where the supplementary election is taking place. The exercise is about to commence, and the voters are quite getting set to exercise their rights. The agents are discussing with the polling officers, and there are some arguments concerning the issue of collating the results, which of course has been settled for now. Whereas the agitation is still on, and one of the voters was arguing that this polling unit has always been a peaceful polling unit, and there's no cause for alarm, and everything is set, the voters are set, the materials are also in order, they are placed. And earlier on, the polling officer also has displayed the sheets, the voters' sheet, 800 pieces, and which contain 100 each of those ballot bundle with 53 pieces, making 853 voting sheets for this unit. In other places, we'll have 48,828 across Plateau State. That is 9 local government areas that will be going for the supplementary election this morning.
Interesting stats, Yemi, but could you talk to us about, from what you've seen, what's your impression about voter awareness, participation, or apathy from those who are coming out to vote today?
In the course of the week, there are some sensitization by the Independent National Electoral Commission to sensitize voters on the need for them to come out and vote. However, it seems there is still some apathy with the voters. As you can see here, we are to have 853, and we just have a couple of people coming out, and this has been an issue for the voters who are a bit disturbed concerning, in the presidential election, there were large turnout, and of course, the governorship election too, it reduced, and now we are having voter apathy, which has not really been impressive. It's not impressive at all so far.
But what do you think about eventual collation and announcement of results? Now that where the vote will take place has been reduced, do you get a sense that they will fast-track this and announce the winner as soon as possible? And when might that be?
Well, there are indications that this exercise will be faster than the other one, starting from the materials that were brought in, unlike before, that voters were the one who will be waiting for materials. This time around, materials came in, and the polling officers came in as early as 6 this morning. And it's an indication that the process will be faster this time around. So talking about the coalition, with what is happening now, with the stipulated guidelines that voting starts by 8 and ends by 2, and with what we are having, very few polling units are having the voting exercise. So definitely the process will be speeded up today. By 2 o'clock, when they take it to the collation centers, the local government area collation center, then going to the final collation center, definitely there will be a change. And we are hopeful that before the end of the day, the announcement will be made on the winner.
All right, that will be good for everybody, including the country, even ourselves. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Yemi Kosoko, coming to us live from Jos. So we'll go to break and come back and take a look at some of the issues that he's raised in a moment. Stay with us.